Let's start off tonight. And consortium of election observer groups considering moving to court if Parliament throws out the election spending limits published by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. Civil society organizations say it is not within the purview of MPs to discuss election limits, as the Constitution gives that mandate to the IEBC. The National Assembly Committee on Delegate Legislation proposes to disregard the spending limits published on the 9th August 2021, as well as campaign financing regulations, arguing they are late. NTV's Kennedy Muredi with more.
A legal battle is in the offing if members of Parliament throw out a Gazette notice published by the IEBC chairperson Wafula Chebukati over the spending limits for any aspirant running for a political position in next year's polls. Speaking at a press conference today, civil society organizations comprising the Center for Multi-Party Democracy, Transparency International, Mzalendo and ELOG said members of Parliament are stretching their mandate by seeking to dictate that the IEBC should have run the spending limits by Parliament for approval.
We opine that this position is self-serving and therefore demand that the National Assembly consider the regulations as a matter of public interest and apply the parameters provided under Standing Order number 210.
If we don't have this law operationalized and implemented in the next elections, we'll continue to perpetuate the culture of corruption. We'll continue to see the marginalization of critical segments of the population, women, youth, people living with disabilities and other vulnerable populations who are already disenfranchised in this country. According to the organizations represented, Parliament should separate its roles of making regulations on finance campaigning and that of the IEBC gazetting the spending limits.
The debate moving forward should be on the appropriateness of the limits set out by the Commission and the mechanisms that IEBC will use to manage and ensure compliance of the process.
The IEBC acted within its mandate in tabling the spending limits as prescribed under sections 12, 18 and 19 of the Election Campaign Financing Act 2013.
We also risk having election outcomes that will not serve Kenyans, particularly in regard to Chapter 6 of our Constitution on leadership and integrity.
The civil society organization, the limits place a cap of 4.4 billion shillings for a presidential campaign, a cap of 17 billion shillings for a political party, while those seeking gubernatorial, senatorial, women rep, MPs and MCAs positions varied as per the size to be covered in each county.
We urge citizens to reject the growing culture of receiving or asking for handouts, which has immensely contributed to and emboldened the political class against spending limits, as they are convinced that ordinary citizens lack moral authority to challenge them.
The Committee on Delegated Legislation will be presenting its report on their blockage of the IEBC regulations to Parliament next week. Kennedy Muredi, NTV.